kind of works. I don't need to share my screen with my audience. Hello, hello. Okay. Hello, and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. This is weird. I can see myself. Very strange. Hello, and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. I am recording this video because my computer broke. So I don't actually have a big computer that I can edit on right now, which is problematic. So I've not been able to make videos, which is why there hasn't been any videos. Yay. So I'm attempting to go live instead to give you the videos, and I have been procrastinating about going live since I thought about doing it, which is about 2 weeks ago. So yes, that's what we're doing. So hopefully you will be able to catch this and drop me any comments if you have any questions about what we're going to talk about today. And yeah, we'll see how we get on. This is my first attempt at a live stream, if it's not really, really obvious. So I am Emma. I run Somewhere on the Spectrum, which is a channel for autism, ADHD, late diagnosed adults. We talk about all kinds of different stuff, mostly trying to help recover from burnout, understand what's going on better, and figure out how it's affecting your life. So today, I want to talk about some comments that were made by my family members, who are lovely. It's not that they're mean or anything. They don't know the impact that these comments had on me, in fact. So I was at my grand's house last month. And so there was me, my dad, my mom, and my auntie. And this is always a little bit stressful because I'm used to living by myself. So it's a little bit difficult to cope with so many people in a small space. And so that was a little challenging. And I am, so that can always lead to a little bit more stress and higher level problems and concerns. But hopefully by sharing these comments, it can help you to identify anything similar that happens with your family and your friends. These are things that may cause you to have rejection sensitive dysphoria, because it can feel like these kind of comments are isolating you. And that is very hurtful when they're family members and people that you want to accept you to say things that are making you feel like they're pushing you out. However, on closer observation of these comments, what I realized, and perhaps you'll notice the same thing when you look at comments from your own family, what I found was that these comments actually were meant to keep me in line, to stop me from straying. And while the comments did come out of my family's mouths, they really, I feel, are echoes of the past, echoes of generational trauma, of the divide and conquer, and ultimately of patriarchy, of stay in your place, stay in your lane, don't be weird, don't be different, don't go outside the norm, all of these kind of things. So they're warnings, basically. They're warnings. Don't act weird, don't step out of line, or something bad will happen. Dun, dun, dun. But I'm hoping these echoes will end with me. That's what I'm working towards. It's not always easy in the moment, though. Anyway, no kids, so I won't be passing them on to the next generation of everyone, so that's good. So let me know your family's version of these in the comments, if you can think of them in the moment. If you can't, come back and share it later. This live will be on the YouTube page, obviously, so you can check that at any time, watch this video back at any time. The unedited version. This video gives you some idea of how much editing I do to make my videos. as short as they are. Okay. So the three comments that I mentioned, all three were comments on behavior or a thing that I was doing primarily to improve my mental or physical health, or things that gave me joy, or all of the above. The first comment was I was meditating. I come from the northwest of England. My father, it turns out, I got up fairly early. I'd gone out into the garden. My grandfather planted a very fantastic, very big garden. He is no longer with us, but the garden still is, which is delightful. So I'd gone out first thing in the morning with my yoga mat to do some yoga. Did some yoga, then was doing some meditation, which is a very new thing for me. Not so normal for me to do, but we're supposed to. It's good for us. On meditation, you can check out the How to ADHD video about meditation. That's really worth a watch to help you understand why, for us specifically, meditation is quite helpful. For me, I find that it gives me a little bit of space, particularly useful if you have impulsivity. So impulsivity is going to make you just react in the moment. If you can get yourself a little second in there, then you can choose what you want to do in the moment. So for me, my impulsivity has always been a major problem. So that is why I wanted to do this. I'm not very good at it. I'm also not very consistent, but considering the fact that I was in the house with everybody and, mental health and all, I decided, okay, let's give it a try. The only thing was, it turns out that while I was out there, my dad had come, he'd got ready, whatever. He was sitting at the window reading his stuff and observing me. So my dad said, "What were you doing out there?" In the tone of voice that only dads can have, that tone of voice that says that if you tell me you were meditating, I'm going to make fun of you. I knew that that's what he was doing. I understood that that was the tone of voice that he had. I was not going to tell him I was meditating because I did not want to have that conversation at that time in the morning. So I fudged over it and went off and did my thing. But really, my dad quite regularly makes comments like that when I'm doing something that is often for my mental or physical health. He will quite often make a comment like, "Why are you doing that?" Or "What are you doing?" Or, something like that. This really, the idea is this forces you to respond, right? He wants to force me to say, "Oh, I was meditating," but that's not a safe environment to give that information. If I was talking to a friend and I said I'm meditating, they might go, "Oh, cool," or "Oh, I didn't know you meditated," something like that. But in this environment, I know that the response is going to be, "Oh, meditating, right," or something like that. Probably not in that very American tone of voice. I've been teaching all day. That's why my accent sounds like this. So yes, so that was my dad first. And then my mum later. I was outside in the garden, obviously. I was observing the trees. My grandfather, not long before I was born, planted a little woodland in this garden. And my cousin has recently cut back and made this woodland more accessible. For many years, it was overgrown and a lot of nettles and things like that. So I was wandering in the woodland for the first time in several decades and looking at these trees and kind of really appreciating the fact that he had planted these trees all this time ago. We're talking now, maybe 48, 49 years ago. And these trees have grown and are thriving, and I just thought that was delightful. So I had been leaning upon a tree, watching the field and watching the swallows, because that's one of my favorite things to do. It's a good idea, if you can, to play with your senses, especially if you get sensory overload. Figure out which of your senses is the strongest and try to play with that. And for me, my eyes are the strongest. And so watching birds like swallows, swifts, house martins, and trying to keep an eye on them as they go, trying to watch them for as long as I can, no matter how they sweep. This is fun. Excuse me. So that's what I was doing. And I was waiting for my mom and my auntie, because we'd said that we were going to go for a walk after dinner. And then when they finally came out of the house and I was walking towards them, my mom said in quite a negative tone, "Are you coming, or are you going to stay here and talk to trees?" Yeah, I didn't really want to go with them after that. This one for me is particularly hurtful. It's very difficult with my mom because at home, she's usually the most stable, consistent person. And when we go to Yorkshire, she's not. So that's very difficult for me as an autistic person to cope with that instability. But then also this kind of comment, it doesn't really give any space to say, I want to come, right? Are you coming, or are you going to stay here and talk to trees? You're disparaging what I'm doing now. You're guessing about what I'm doing now, but you're disparaging what I'm doing now. But then you're also not really making it a joyful thing to want to go with you. So that's really challenging for me as well. So I was talking to the trees. In fact, I hadn't started talking to the trees, but I did right after that, because there's a tree that's growing too close to a power line. So I had a little chat with it and tried to convince it to grow in the opposite direction. I don't know if it will make any difference. This is a new thing for me. We're trying it, whatever. Anyway, so I didn't want to go with them after that. I didn't want to go. It's already a little bit difficult because my auntie does not believe in autism. Fun times. And so that was now a hostile environment. I didn't want to go with them. So that was definitely a statement that made me feel isolated. It was definitely a statement that flared my rejection sensitivity. But also note the end of that, or are you going to talk to trees? So she picked up on the one thing that I might be doing out there. I could have just been hanging out. I was actually watching Swift, which is much more likely. But she picked up on this one thing that would make me the weird one in that situation. And that was the way to really make me stay in line. Like, you shouldn't be talking to trees. That's a weird thing to do. And that was really the isolating statement. So when we look at it from that perspective, we can start to see that actually this was about commenting on something that's not approved, right? This is not talking to trees is weird. Only witches do it. That's a strange thing to do. So when we look at this from a generational perspective, there is that hint of stay safe. Don't be weird. Don't be seen doing weird things, and keep yourself. Like, the answer to that should have been, oh, of course I'm coming with you. Who'd want to stay and talk to trees? Me. That was better. Anyway. And then the third one, I have at the moment, I'm trying to learn a bit about Chinese medicine. And Chinese medicine it's a much more holistic kind of medicine. And although for many years I thought that it was all woo-woo, there's a lot of it now that is becoming scientifically and medically proven. So anyway, so I'm doing a lot with Chinese medicine. And one of the things is making teas. And I had filled my water bottle with some different tea. I think I had hibiscus in there, marigold, a few different things in there. And yeah, it looks like there's stuff in my water bottle. Yes, that is true. But my auntie saw the water bottle and went, "Ooh, what's in there?" Again, if we think of historically, this is back to, why are you doing a weird thing? Why are you drinking a weird thing, consuming a weird thing? It's isolating. It's saying, you're doing a weird thing. I don't want to, I don't want to associate myself with you by saying that's weird. She's saying, I wouldn't do that, right? And then it's also commenting on this thing that I'm doing for my health that is now not allowed, unacceptable. right? So this is kind of you can see with all three of these comments that not only are they commenting on a situation right now, they're isolating, they're going to flare rejection sensitivity, but they're also commenting from that historical perspective that is, like I said, that kind of like echoes through time, that are don't be weird, don't be witchy. It's interesting that all three of these have an element of don't be witchy in them. Don't be feminine is also there to some extent. Don't be wild, don't talk to nature, connect with nature. All of those kind of echoes are in these comments. So although none of my family members said these comments with any meanness in mind, my dad was trying to be funny. He wasn't trying to be mean. They didn't intend to be mean, but all three of these comments were, don't be weird, stay in line. And I think for us as neurodiverse folks, it's really important to look, when we get these comments, it's really important to look at them and consider, is this something that that person is saying to me to try and hurt me? Is this something somebody is consciously saying? Or are they having a response to something that is coming from somewhere else, coming from somewhere in their own background? I would say that in all three of these comments, in all three of these situations, that was not about me. That was not about what I was doing. That was coming from their history, their background, their experience. And they were policing my behavior based on people who'd policed their behavior previously. And they were telling me, be careful, So there's that element of be careful, you're staying in line because it's keeping you safe. The problem is that doesn't work for us anymore. If you are late diagnosed autistic, and especially a woman, then you are probably well past the point where staying in line and staying normal is going to keep you safe, and also is going to be accepted by society. But also very likely you're in burnout. And in my experience with burnout, the more I try to limit myself, the more I try to stay in line, the worse my burnout gets. So I kind of have found I have to lean into the weird. And not just the weird, the joy is in there too, right? The joy of sitting and watching swallows, the joy of sitting in a tree that my grandfather planted, or sitting in a garden that my grandfather planted, the joy of being able to drink something that's made with flowers that have come from the earth that is around us to try and heal you. These are all things that give us as autistic people positive emotions, which can help us recover from burnout. So to actively avoid doing these things is hurting ourselves. But I think also the more we push back, question, or just don't respond to this kind of thing, that's also an effort for me to heal that generational trauma that is, a way for me to say this is not continuing down the line, and to try and cope with that generational trauma and sort of move through it so that we can get to a better place in the future. So it's always, when people say hurtful things, it's always worth stopping and asking, is this about me or something else? Is this theirs? Does this belong to the person who's saying to me, or was it passed down to them? Has it come from their parents, their ancestors? And do I need to pay attention to this thing? Like, is it actually keeping me safe? Or is it asking me to conform to something that doesn't align with my values? Maybe ever, but certainly now anymore. I think there's now for me a resistance, especially with perimenopause, is much easier to resist, and the resistance is much stronger. But to resist things that don't align with my values is now much easier for me to manage. So, hi, Serenity. Yes, so that is like, I don't know what I'm hitting now. It's strange. So, yeah, following something that is aligning with your values is really important. So when you get these comments, even if it hits your rejection sensitivity and maybe you can't do it in the moment, I would say it's only my dad that I was able to like put the brakes on. But it was after the event for all three of these comments that I really was able to stop and start processing. So don't expect yourself to be able to figure it out in the moment. The main thing in the moment is sort of breathing deep and trying not to respond, or trying to respond in not a reflexive negative way. But then afterwards, looking at it more deeply and asking, actually, is this jarring because it's jarring my values? So my values now are that we are embracing the planet. We are being more open-minded about the planet and trying to support myself. And so this kind of negative comment and like, there's no curiosity here. There's no interest in it. There are so many different ways you could have asked these questions, and yet every one of them is shut down, closed, and preventing any curiosity or learning from the situation, which is my curiosity is one of my core values. That's no good. Curiosity and freedom. So anytime somebody tries to knock me into place, that's also going to be a problem for me. Anyway, so there's some good questions that you can ask yourself to check when these comments come in. Actually, do I even need to pay attention to this? And I think once you start thinking of it from that perspective, rather than thinking from it as my mom tried to hurt me, thinking of it as, actually, is this generational trauma? Has this come from somewhere else? Does this actually belong to her? Is this a reaction that was fired at me to hurt me? Or was this a reaction to her own past and actually it's not relevant to me? In which case it's much easier to, water off a duck's back and move forward. I don't know if any of that made any sense. So I wanted to see if anybody has any questions, but since we have 3 people, and I'm pretty sure I know who those 3 people are watching this, then I'm probably going to leave it there. Also, for anybody who's watching this back later, I have a vague sense that I may attempt to do another live on Wednesday, which would be at 7, which is when I usually drop my videos. That one will be about friends who later want romance, which is a comment that one of the subscribers left a long time ago. I couldn't find it when I went back to look for it. So that is based on that one. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video. I think I'm going to have to try doing another live on Wednesday, though, because so far my computer is still not fixed and this computer cannot edit. So I'm stuck doing lives. Not scared at all. Luckily, only friends are here, so it's good. Not nearly as terrifying as I thought it was going to be. Okay, I'm going to end it there because that's been enough time, and I need to go and eat something. So let me know. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're watching this video later, I think you can still add questions later, so feel free to do that, and I will respond to them if you have any questions about this. Any questions and likes and subscribe help the channel grow, and I would really appreciate that. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.